We ruin ourselves when we act on misunderstandings, an unfortunate consequence of the gift of reason. More troubling is that we often don't realize when we misunderstand. Human nature tends to fall into complacency when survival isn't at risk, or misery when it is. These extremes, though damaging, prompt us to act or assure us of safety. The real danger lies in the middle, in the everyday misunderstandings about what is happening to us. It's not the world that breaks us, it's our own misjudgments about it. In today's video, we're diving into 3 deeply ingrained habits that either cause our misunderstandings or are the result of them. Each habit creates its own form of misery. You lose sight of who you really are when you let society's expectations guide your life. You distort reality when you constantly label things as good or bad. And you exhaust yourself when you fight the unstoppable force of change. These are habits that drain your mental energy and steal your peace without you even realizing it. So, why do we cling to these patterns? Well, why don't we find out? Here are 3 ways you will ruin your life without even realizing it. But before that, if you appreciate what we are doing here, do us a simple free favor by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And do watch the video till the end to get the mindfulness needed to combat the ruinous effects of these insidious habits. This is real talk for tough people, the Stoic way. Don't skip it, don't rush it. Hook those earphones up and let things go. You follow popular opinion. When you follow popular opinion, when you care what others think, you lose sight of who you truly are. This isn't about your name or identity on paper. It's deeper than that. The me you believe you are, your image, your desires, your goals, can easily become a reflection of what society tells you you should be, rather than a reflection of your authentic self. Stoic wisdom reminds us that it's easy to mistake society's version of you for the real you, and this can quietly ruin your life piece by piece without you even realizing it. Take, for example, the obsession with looking good. Everywhere we turn, society bombards us with images of the ideal body, flawless skin, and perfect hair. This isn't just harmless noise. It seeps into our minds until we believe that our worth depends on whether we match this impossible standard. When you start chasing this illusion, you think you're doing it for yourself. But are you? Or is it really because you've absorbed society's concept of what a man or woman should look like? You're not pursuing health, confidence, or authenticity. You're chasing a mirage. The Stoics offer a perspective that strips away this illusion. What truly matters is not how you appear to others, but how you live according to your own values. The problem with following popular opinion is that it distorts your desires. You start wanting what society says you should want: fame, approval, superficial beauty, believing that these things will bring happiness. But this happiness is hollow. It's not rooted in your authentic self, but in a societal construct, an idea of a man that has nothing to do with you as an individual. This is ruinous because it disconnects you from your own desires and needs, and it convinces you that fulfillment lies in meeting the expectations of others rather than in living according to nature. In Stoicism, this concept refers to aligning with reason, pursuing inner virtue, and focusing on what truly matters, not external appearances. Imagine spending years striving to look a certain way, buying the right clothes, chasing trends, sculpting your body to perfection, only to find that it never really makes you happy. Why? Because you were never doing it for you. You were doing it to fit into a mold that isn't even yours, a mold society created. This is the essence of what Stoic teachings warn us about, the danger of letting external opinions dictate your life. To think clearly about what truly makes you happy, you need to step back from what everyone else is telling you and reflect. You need to put things into perspective and make a shift in perspective to understand what's good for you. When you focus on what you truly desire, independent of society's pressures, you discover a deeper happiness. This means rejecting the constant need for validation through looks, likes, or applause. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, repeatedly reminds us that the opinions of others, especially about trivial things like appearance, are none of our concern. What would happen if you stopped chasing these ideals? Would your worth diminish, or would you suddenly see your true value, one that has nothing to do with looks or status? Focus only on what truly matters, as Stoic philosophy advises. Stop letting the world's expectations be your puppet master, pulling your strings and dictating your sense of self. To break free from this, practice letting go of popular opinion and start looking inward. Knowing what you really want, what will actually bring you peace, requires self-reflection. It's not about being rebellious for the sake of it. It's about discovering your own mind. Ask yourself, why do I want to look a certain way? Is it for me, or is it because I've been told I should? What would happen if I focused more on my character and less on my image? The moment you realize that your true happiness doesn't come from fulfilling society's idea of who you should be, but from living in alignment with your own values, you experience a shift in mindset. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself through external validation. And so, you don't indulge popular opinion anymore and focus on what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your inner growth. That is where true freedom lies. So take the Stoic approach. Reject popular opinion. Don't let it ruin what's truly yours. You add value judgments to everything. Stoicism pushes us to challenge some of our most basic instincts. One of the most pervasive being our tendency to attach value judgments to everything we experience. Every day, we label people, events, and even ourselves as good or bad, right or wrong, often without realizing how this habit silently impacts our well-being. We think it's natural, even necessary, to judge the world in this way. But should we really be assigning these labels so freely? Consider this. When we constantly label people as good or bad, we set ourselves up for a narrow and rigid view of the world. We place people in neat little boxes, assuming their value based on a single interaction, trait, or opinion. You meet someone, and within moments, your mind is buzzing with judgments, whether they're kind, rude, trustworthy, or dangerous. While this might seem useful at first glance, it often leads to misunderstanding and conflict. The truth is, no person is entirely good or entirely bad. We're all complex, multifaceted beings with our own struggles, flaws, and virtues. When we slap labels on people, we lose sight of their humanity. And what's worse, we lose sight of the fact that our labels are often reflections of our own biases and emotions, not reality. Imagine the mental freedom of seeing someone without immediately casting judgment, without assuming that their every word or action fits into some category of right or wrong. What if, instead, you approach people with curiosity rather than judgment? Stoic philosophy challenges us to do exactly that. It asks us to pause before rushing to conclusions, to recognize that our emotional reactions, our passions, often cloud our ability to see things clearly. Epictetus offers us a shift in perspective when he says, "What disturbs men is not the things themselves, but their judgments about those things." In other words, it's not the person in front of you who frustrates or offends you. It's the story you've told yourself about them. This habit of making constant value judgments extends beyond people. It touches every aspect of our lives. We label events as good or bad based on our expectations, thinking something has gone wrong simply because it didn't go as we planned. Stoicism invites us to question this automatic reaction. Instead of labeling things, we should focus on observing them clearly. What's ruinous about constantly judging people and events is that it creates a false reality. one that's built on fleeting emotions and subjective interpretations. We believe our judgments are truth, but in reality, they often distort the truth. And once we start believing that our value judgments reflect the world as it is, we get caught in a never-ending cycle of highs and lows. If someone treats us kindly, we label them good and feel uplifted. If someone criticizes us, we label them bad and feel deflated. Our emotional state becomes a roller coaster, rising and falling based on the judgments we make at every turn. Stoic teachings offer a way out of this trap. To live according to nature, as the Stoics advise, means to see things as they are, not as our emotions or judgments want them to be. It's about practicing objectivity, detachment, and mindfulness, qualities that allow us to respond to life's events with clarity and calm, rather than reactive judgments. Imagine how much peace of mind you would have if you could brush off insults and not be swayed by the opinions of others. Stoicism asks us to be like a rock, unshaken by the waves of praise or criticism. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or becoming indifferent. It means practicing self-restraint, staying mindful of how our judgments cloud our reason. Let's return to the example of labeling people. When we label someone as bad, based on a single action, we close ourselves off from understanding who they truly are. What if we practiced empathy instead of judgment? What if we allowed ourselves to see their full story, to consider their struggles and imperfections? This doesn't mean accepting harmful behavior, but it does mean recognizing that our quick judgments often oversimplify complex human experiences. Feel empathy, as Stoicism suggests, but detach from the need to categorize and judge. In doing so, you free yourself from the emotional turmoil that comes with constant labeling. Instead of viewing the world through the lens of judgments, view it through the lens of acceptance. Accept that people are flawed, that events don't always go as planned, that life is unpredictable. When you let go of rigid value judgments, you allow yourself to experience life as it is, without the extra layer of emotional baggage. This is the power of Stoicism, the ability to see reality clearly without the fog of passion or prejudice. Master yourself, and you will master your life. This is one of the great lessons from Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. To master yourself means to master your mind, to break free from the habit of assigning value to every experience, every person, and every situation. By focusing on what is within our control, our thoughts and responses, we free ourselves from the tyranny of judgment. We can live in the present moment, taking life as it comes and finding peace in accepting things as they are. You fear change. Fearing or fighting change is one of the most subtle yet powerful habits that ruins our lives, often without even realizing it. We've all experienced it. The anxiety that creeps in when life takes an unexpected turn, when things don't go according to plan, when the comfort we've built around ourselves starts to crumble. But here's the truth: most of our misery comes from not accepting things as they are. We spend so much energy trying to resist, trying to change circumstances we can't control, when in reality, change is the only constant in life. This resistance, this refusal to embrace the flow of life, is what makes us suffer. Think about it. How often does the word change come to mind when it's something positive, something we actively want? Almost never. We resist change because it pulls us out of our comfort zones, and we're conditioned to avoid discomfort. We like stability. We like to know what's coming next. It gives us a sense of control, even though deep down we know that control is an illusion. The Stoics offer a perspective that helps us see through this illusion. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote in Meditations, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change the things which are and to make new things like them. But why do we resist change so much? It's simple. We are hardwired to seek comfort. It's human nature to steer toward pleasure and avoid pain. We crave predictability because it gives us a sense of security. When life throws us a curveball, whether it's hardship, failure, or unexpected loss, our instinct is to fight back, to resist, to try to force things to stay the same. We believe that by fighting change, we can protect ourselves from discomfort. But the irony is, it's this very resistance that creates more suffering. This rejection of change becomes ruinous because in trying to fight what we cannot control, we only exhaust ourselves. The Stoic path teaches us that peace doesn't come from controlling the external world. It comes from accepting it. When you fight change, you're battling against the very fabric of life itself. Life is in a constant state of flux. Birth, growth, decay, and death. Everything is transforming. And yet, we cling to the idea that things should stay the way they are. Someone who seeks constancy in a world of change is bound to be miserable. This person is fighting an unwinnable battle, standing contrary to the natural laws of the universe. Take, for example, the fickleness of fortune. We all know how quickly life can shift from good to bad, from joy to sorrow. One day everything is going well. You have a stable job, a comfortable home, a loving relationship. The next, you could lose any or all of these things. This is the capriciousness of life, and no amount of resistance can change it. If your happiness depends on the illusion that things will stay the same, then your happiness is fragile, vulnerable to the slightest shift in fortune. This is why the Stoics encourage us to embrace change rather than fear it. The Stoic truth is simple. Change is not your enemy. It's part of the natural order. By accepting it, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. The key is to shift in perspective. Focus on what you can control, which is your mind, your attitude, and your response to change, not the change itself. The ancient Stoics, like Seneca and Epictetus, emphasized the importance of understanding this distinction. While we can't control the fact that life will change, we can control how we react to it. If we view change as something negative, something to be feared, then every new challenge, every shift in circumstance becomes a source of anxiety and frustration. But if we see change as a natural and inevitable part of life, then we can meet it with acceptance, even gratitude. Consider how much lighter life would feel if you stopped resisting change. Imagine the mental freedom that comes with embracing the fact that nothing is permanent. Amor fati, the Stoic idea of loving one's fate, teaches us to welcome whatever life throws at us, not just to tolerate it. If we can find joy in the flow of life, if we can accept that change is part of our journey, then we free ourselves from the constant stress of trying to control what is uncontrollable. This isn't to say that accepting change means giving up or becoming passive. The Stoic approach is about being resilient in the face of change. It's about recognizing that while you can't control the world, you can control your mind. You can cultivate inner strength by practicing detachment from outcomes, by not tying your sense of well-being to things staying the same. The power of Stoicism lies in this ability to adapt, to flow with life, rather than fight against it. The truth is, fighting change is like trying to stop the tide from coming in. It's futile, and yet we spend so much of our energy doing just that, resisting the natural cycles of life because we're afraid of what's on the other side. But Stoic wisdom teaches us that what's on the other side of change isn't necessarily bad. It's just different. If we can let go of our fear of the unknown, we can start to see change as an opportunity for growth. Every change brings with it a new beginning, a chance to learn, to adapt, and to evolve. So, the next time life changes something you'd rather stay the same, remember this. Embracing change is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. If you like what we do, feel free to do more by liking and sharing the video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, to the community. How, you ask? By hitting that like button as a symbol of your commitment to change, by subscribing to join a community where wisdom isn't just shared but lived to help us create powerful stuff. And don't forget to hit the notification bell, the gentle chime of a Stoic philosopher, reminding you to return to this space of learning and growth. Each like, each subscription, each notification is a step towards a collective awakening. And if you feel that stirring in your heart, a resonance with the words of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus, share this video. That will help us immensely in continuing to create unique and powerful stuff for the community. Everything changes when you truly hear what Stoicism has been telling us all along. Everything gets better. Your self-discipline, your self-control, your temperance, your cultivation of inner peace and resilience, your self-awareness, your equanimity. You practice forgiveness more often. You stop caring what others think. You start to live with a sense of calm, clarity, and purpose. Even the practice of Stoic principles of the dichotomy of control, negative visualization, memento mori, amor fati, and the view from above gets easier and, more importantly, effective.